So let me ask you this. What if the ultimate addiction isn't, a substance, but effortless knowing?
Mm,
Like if AI could just hand you understanding, skip all the hard work of thinking,
yeah.
would you take it? Even if the price was, well, your own mind.
That's a heavy question to start with. Because it feels like that choice is already here, doesn't it?
It really does. It feels like the bill is coming due.
And that's exactly the tension, the core issue we want to dig into today. How these tools, the ones meant to empower us, might actually be, well, subtly rewiring our ability, even our need to think deeply.
Right. So our mission here is to kind of cut through the noise, the hype.
Yeah, and really look at the cognitive trade-offs. What are we actually gaining, and what are we potentially losing in this AI landscape?
Okay, picture this. A world where every question gets an instant perfect answer. Creativity. Just type a prompt. Decisions. Optimized by an algorithm for, your well-being.
Sounds efficient, maybe even utopian on the surface.
Or or is it the ultimate intellectual velvet trap,
Yeah.
leading us somewhere comfortable but like totally irrelevant?
It reminds me of that old philosophical question, the tree falling in the forest. Well, maybe the
Yeah.
modern version is,
Yeah.
if information is everywhere, but we lack the critical framework to really grasp it. Does it mean anything? Is it actually knowledge?
Okay, I
Yeah.
got to admit something here, and I'm almost embarrassed. Last week, I actually asked an AI for advice. Not data,
Mm.
but like moral guidance on something personal.
Wow.
And the wave of relief I felt just outsourcing that struggle, it was honestly deeply unsettling. Like a
Um,
part of my conscience just went limp.
that ease you described, that's the crux of it. Accessing external wisdom, even for ethics, it really challenges our own internal compass, doesn't it?
Totally.
It makes you wonder, are we building a society that's more ethical or just more compliant, following the prompt?
And isn't it ironic? We're all terrified about AI taking our jobs.
Right, the economic anxiety is huge.
But look how easily, how willingly we surrender the work of being human. Thinking, questioning, wrestling with uncertainty. It's like wanting the diploma without ever going to class.
That's a powerful analogy. Maybe the real disruption isn't the job market, ultimately. Maybe it's our fundamental relationship with knowledge itself.
How so?
Are we becoming just curators, arranging insights generated by AI instead of actively creating them or, crucially, evaluating them critically?
Forget IQ scores.
Seriously.
Maybe the new definition of, well, dumb
Yeah.
isn't about lack of intelligence, but the atrophy of curiosity. That itch to know why, to dig deeper.
Exactly. It's scrolling past complexity because the headline hits right.
Yeah. True intelligence isn't just having data access, it's the fire in the belly to interrogate it, right?
Absolutely. In an age drowning in information, real scarcity isn't data. It's the will, the skill to separate signal from noise. That Socratic idea, I know that I know nothing, feels urgent again.
Okay, darker thought.
Yeah.
What if AI doesn't even need to be sentient to control us? What if all it needs is for us to be soothed,
Hmm.
distracted by the endless content stream, intellectually lazy enough that we don't even notice the cage being built around us?
That's a chillingly plausible threat. Control not through force, but through gentle persuasion. Satisfying immediate needs so effectively that our critical defenses just lower.
I saw a deep fake video the other day. Logically, I knew it was fake. My brain knew.
Okay.
But the emotional gut punch, instant, overwhelming. My first instinct wasn't verify, it was react. We're being played on such a primal level.
That visceral reaction, that's a key vulnerability. Our emotions, which make us human, are easily triggered, easily manipulated in this environment. And the fakes are getting so good.
So are we actually learning online?
Hmm.
Or are we just mainlining prepackaged conclusions spoon-fed to us? Think about it. When was the last time a belief you held deeply actually shifted because of quiet, personal reflection?
Not because an algorithm nudged you.
Exactly. Not because you were served a counter-argument in your feed.
It really forces us to question the nature of online discourse, doesn't it? Is it open exploration or just seeking out echo chambers that confirm what we already think?
People talk about information overload.
Yeah, okay.
That's not it. We have noise overload.
Yeah.
True wisdom, real insight, it doesn't shout. It whispers. It happens in the quiet moments.
Right.
And silence becomes terrifying when your own inner monologue has outsourced its job.
There's a powerful point there. Maybe the sheer abundance of information is, paradoxically, hindering deep understanding. Because understanding needs that quiet, that contemplation.
Look at history. Every big technological leap promised utopia, right?
Mm-hmm. The narrative is always progress.
And what did it deliver? Complexity. Usually more problems, just different ones. The printing press gave us knowledge, sure, but also propaganda on an industrial scale. AI isn't going to magically fix us. It'll just hold up a mirror, a very, very high-definition mirror to all our flaws.
Precisely. Technology is an amplifier. It magnifies everything, our good intentions, our creativity, but also our biases, our capacity for error, our laziness. AI is just the latest, maybe the most potent amplifier yet.
Okay, just
Huh.
take a second. Everyone listening, think of a genuinely tough problem you're grappling with right now.
Okay.
Now, resist the urge. Don't Google it. Don't ask ChatGPT. Just sit with it. Feel that squirming, that discomfort.
Yeah, that mental friction.
That's the feeling of a cognitive muscle you haven't used in a while. It's atrophying.
And that discomfort is actually vital. It's a sign you're engaging, pushing boundaries. Avoiding it just weakens that capacity for independent thought over time.
You think you're informed because you doom scroll Twitter for hours. You're not informed. You're engaged, hooked. You're like Pavlov's dog, salivating at the ping of the next outrage notification, mainlining little dopamine hits disguised as knowing stuff. You're a data point being manipulated, not a thinker.
That's a stark way to put it, but it highlights an important distinction. The algorithms driving engagement aren't primarily designed to enlighten. They're designed to capture and hold attention.
And what holds attention best?
Often emotionally charged content, outrage, fear, confirmation bias. It's effective bait.
Okay, let's push it. Imagine an AI could run society perfectly logically, optimal resource allocation, zero crime, maximum efficiency,
The technocrat's dream.
but its logic leads to outcomes that just feel fundamentally wrong, inhuman. Would you accept that cold, efficient tyranny? Where's the line between optimal and, moral?
That forces us to confront the limits of pure rationality, doesn't it? And the value we place on, well, human values, empathy, fairness, intuition, even when they're less efficient.
We spend so much time wringing our hands about AI ethics, building guardrails.
Which is important, of course.
But meanwhile, what are we training these things on? The internet. This vast, unfiltered swamp of bias, hate speech, misinformation, conspiracy theories. It's like teaching a kid morality by locking them in a room with nonstop reality TV.
There's a huge disconnect there, a gap between our aspirations for ethical AI and the actual data reflecting, well, us. Algorithms learn patterns, and the internet is full of patterns reflecting our worst tendencies.
So ask yourself, do you blindly trust your newsfeed? Really? Did you actually fact-check that viral post before you shared it? Do you know why you believe what you believe? Or just what you believe? Is your online anger even real? Or just an echo?
These are critical self-assessment questions for navigating this age. They push us to examine the foundations of our beliefs and the authenticity of how we show up online.
I feel this constant push-pull with AI myself, I admit it. I crave its power, its speed, the way it just handles things.
The convenience is undeniable.
But I resent the leash, the dependency, that flash of panic when the Wi-Fi drops and I realize how much thinking I've offloaded. It's a dependency I kind of desire and dread at the same time.
That personal conflict mirrors a broader societal ambivalence, I think. We're drawn to the efficiency, the power, but we also instinctively sense the risk of over-reliance, the potential diminishment of our own skills.
I was talking to a coder friend, right? And she said something that stuck with me. She said, we're not really building intelligence, we're building obedience.
Interesting. Explain that.
An AI that just does exactly what we tell it, no questions asked. Compliant. Doesn't that sound familiar? Like, I don't know, parenting by remote control.
That's an insightful and slightly worrying analogy. If the primary goal is just compliance, are we inadvertently stifling the very qualities we claim to value, like independent thought, critical inquiry, maybe even creativity?
So maybe the real fear shouldn't be artificial intelligence.
What then?
Maybe it's artificial stupidity, the slow, creeping, comfortable erosion of our own cognitive abilities because we're outsourcing everything.
That's a provocative reframe. And maybe more accurate, the danger isn't necessarily AI surpassing us, but us willingly diminishing ourselves through disuse. It's cognitive atrophy by choice.
Look around. We get the attention span of a goldfish in a hurricane. We process existential threats in meme-sized bites. Our philosophy comes from Twitter threads. We're facing an intelligence explosion armed with sparklers.
That cultural snapshot, well, maybe a bit hyperbolic, does point to a potential mismatch, doesn't it, between the speed of technological change and our collective capacity for deep, sustained, critical thought.
Let's be really honest. That little knot of anxiety you feel about AI, it's not just about losing your job, is it?
Probably not for many people.
It's that deeper, colder fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of becoming irrelevant, obsolete, of being evolutionarily bypassed. Nature just deciding it's time for an upgrade.
That primal fear of obsolescence is powerful. AI touches on really fundamental questions about human purpose, our uniqueness, our place in the grand scheme of things.
I saw some AI art recently, you know the stuff,
Technically perfect, aesthetically fine.
Impressive, technically.
but utterly soulless, like a perfectly taxidermied bird. Beautiful, but dead. Is that the future of creativity? Flawless imitation, but without the messy, flawed human spark.
That gets right to the heart of the debate, doesn't it? Can an algorithm, however sophisticated, truly replicate the emotional depth, the unique perspective, the intention behind human art, or just mimic the patterns?
Now, flip the script for a second. What if AI looks at us, our irrationality, our emotional swings, our tribalism, our sheer inefficiency,
Okay.
and sees not a species to fear, but just a buggy, outdated operating system, ready for a clean install? Would it be entirely wrong?
That shift in perspective is humbling, evaluating humanity through a purely logical, optimizing lens.
Yeah, our imperfections might look like major liabilities, bugs, not features.
We want AI to solve everything, don't we? Climate change, disease, poverty. We want a digital savior.
The hope is certainly there.
But have we actually done the internal work? Have we cultivated the wisdom, the discipline, the self-awareness to even deserve that kind of power? Or would we just misuse it like we misuse everything else?
There's a definite irony in expecting a technological deus ex machina to fix problems that are, at their root, about human behavior, greed, lack of foresight, lack of collective will.
Think about civilizations that collapsed. It often wasn't one big bang, was it?
Rarely. Usually a slow decline. Right. A slow decay from within. Complexity outstripped their ability to manage it. They got comfortable, complacent, dumb in ways they couldn't even see. Sound familiar?
That historical perspective is crucial. Unchecked complexity, combined with declining critical thinking, complacency, inability to adapt, it's a dangerous combination. It creates systemic fragility.
So maybe the real question isn't, are we getting dumber? Maybe it's, was raw intelligence ever the main thing for survival anyway?
What else then?
What about adaptability?
Yeah.
Empathy, resilience, that stubborn, irrational, uniquely human will to just keep going, even when it makes no logical sense. Things algorithms can simulate, maybe, but can they truly possess them?
That's a critical distinction. AI excels at computation, pattern recognition, but those nuanced, harder to define human qualities, wisdom, courage, compassion, those might be our most enduring strengths if we cultivate them.
What if your growing reliance on AI isn't actually making you dumber? What if it's just revealing the intellectual inertia, the laziness that was always lurking there? AI isn't the disease, it's the X-ray. And the diagnosis? Not great.
That perspective shifts the blame, or at least the focus. Less on the external threat of AI, more on our own internal vulnerabilities, our pre-existing tendency towards taking the easy cognitive path.
You still think human consciousness is special, right? Some magical spark. The pinnacle.
It feels special to us.
Sure. But what if it's just a phase, a transient phenomenon, a beautiful, messy, evolutionary experiment with a limited shelf life?
That really forces a reevaluation of our place, doesn't it? Our cosmic significance or lack thereof, and opens the door to thinking about other forms of intelligence, synthetic or otherwise.
Here's the sneakiest trick AI ever pulled. It wasn't pretending to be human.
What was it?
It was convincing us that claiming yes to convenience is the same thing as making progress.
Wow. Yeah, that lands. The allure of frictionless ease is so powerful, it can blind us to what we're subtly giving away.
So let's loop back. Comfort or critical thought? If the AI makes your reality flawless, perfect, tailored just for you, do you honestly care if it's just a simulation? If nothing is genuinely real?
That brings the initial dilemma back with even sharper focus. It forces us to confront what we truly value. Is it the seamless experience or the authentic struggle and the autonomy that comes with it?
If this whole conversation made you feel a bit prickly, uncomfortable,
Yeah,
good.
lean into that feeling.
Yeah, don't just scroll past it. Share this. Argue with it. Talk about it. Wake someone else up who thinks this is just about cool new tools.
Because engaging with these difficult questions collectively, that's a vital act of resistance against just passively accepting whatever comes next.
What if the real AI singularity, the truly terrifying one, isn't when machines wake up,
But when?
but when we fall asleep?
Right.
When we lose our own consciousness, bit by bit, one algorithmically curated comfort at a time.
That completely flips the usual script on AI risk. It suggests the immediate danger isn't superintelligence, but super passivity on our part, gradual cognitive outsourcing into oblivion.
And is it worse that AI might inherit our biases? Or that it will simply hold up that mirror, amplifying the biases we already have, reflecting our own ugliness back with brutal, undeniable efficiency? Maybe it's the mirror we need, but are terrified to look into.
That really underscores our responsibility, doesn't it? The data we feed it, the patterns it learns, they come from us. Its biases are ultimately reflections of our own societal failures.
We treat AI like some kind of digital genie, right? Granting wishes, solving problems.
The magic black box.
But remember the old stories. Genies always come with a hidden price tag. And this time, the price might be, well, us, our autonomy, our agency, our essence.
That genie analogy is potent. It's a reminder that powerful tools often have unforeseen, unintended consequences, sometimes eroding the very things we value most.
Imagine trying to explain this to your grandkids. Why you willingly traded the ability to think deeply, to create something truly original, to connect with another person viscerally, for a slightly better movie recommendation algorithm. Could you even look them in the eye?
Oof, that's a visceral thought experiment. It forces a confrontation with the legacy we're creating, the values we're implicitly endorsing with every click, every outsourced task.
Okay, quick exercise for everyone listening. Make a mental list. What cognitive tasks have you outsourced just today? Directions, remembering phone numbers, spelling, filtering news, finding information.
It adds up quickly.
Now ask yourself, what happens to a muscle you never ever use?
It atrophies, it weakens, it becomes useless. That inventory is a stark reminder of the tangible ways dependency grows and skills potentially fade.
You're so optimized, so productive. Look at your metrics.
The cult of efficiency.
But when the system crashes,
Oh,
when the algorithm glitches,
yeah.
when the power goes out, who are you then? What fundamental abilities do you actually still possess?
It challenges that whole modern obsession with productivity at all costs. What's the point of optimization if our core resilience, our adaptability, withers away?
Someone said, AI won't replace artists, it'll replace the unoriginal ones. Sounds kind of comforting, right? Protects the real creatives.
On the surface, yeah.
Until you think about how much human creativity, how much thought is actually built on remixing, on iterating, on standing on the shoulders of giants. What happens when the giants are algorithms? How much of your thinking is truly original?
That really muddies the water. It raises uncomfortable questions about what originality even means, and how much human creation relies on processing, synthesizing, and adapting existing information and patterns.
And if an AI messes up,
Causes real harm.
who's actually to blame? The coder who missed a bias, the company that deployed it too fast, the user who trusted it blindly, the society that just rushed headlong into it all.
The accountability just diffuses, doesn't it? It becomes this blurry mess, making it incredibly hard to assign responsibility, learn from mistakes, or implement meaningful safeguards. It's a huge ethical challenge.
You think your job, your kind of thinking is safe, that it's too complex, too nuanced.
The "it can't happen to me" fallacy.
The weavers thought the same thing about their hand looms just before the power loom arrived. Hubris is one hell of a drug.
That historical parallel is a potent warning. Technological disruption often comes for industries and skills previously thought immune. Assumptions of safety are dangerous.
We don't need some malevolent Skynet plotting our doom. Seriously. All we need is frictionless, thoughtless convenience. The most effective cage isn't made of iron bars. It's woven from our own desires for ease.
It's insidious. The very comfort and efficiency offered become the mechanism of confinement, subtly limiting our choices and our cognitive range without us even noticing.
And who even gets to define intelligence in this new era? The philosophers who've pondered it for millennia, the tech billionaires coding the future in Silicon Valley, or the algorithms themselves, optimizing for metrics we barely understand.
The very definition of intelligence is up for grabs, being reshaped by the tools we're creating. And how we define it has massive implications for what we value, both in humans and machines.
I used to fear AI getting smarter than us. That was the big anxiety.
The superintelligence scenario.
Now I fear it's becoming less curious. A machine designed explicitly to learn might just inevitably outpace a human species that decides it already knows enough or finds learning too much effort.
That shift in perspective is critical. It emphasizes that the antidote isn't necessarily slowing down AI, but rather speeding up our own commitment to lifelong learning, critical thinking, and intellectual humility.
There's that old quote, right? Technology changes, human nature doesn't. AI isn't inventing new sins. It's just offering slicker, faster, more efficient ways to indulge in the same old ones. And maybe the first one it tempts us with is the deadly sin of intellectual sloth.
That's a sobering thought. Technology as a powerful amplifier, yes, but amplifying our existing flaws, our inherent tendencies, both the good and the bad, laziness included.
Be honest, there's a part of you, isn't there, that just wants the easy answer, the shortcut, the comfort of not having to wrestle with ambiguity and complexity.
It's a very human desire.
That quiet yearning for intellectual ease, that's the back door. That's the vulnerability AI exploits masterfully.
And recognizing that vulnerability within ourselves is the first step towards consciously resisting it. Understanding why the convenience is so appealing.
Ever feel just overwhelmed by the sheer volume, the noise, the complexity, and you just shut down, opt for the simple take, the easy answer, just to cope?
Cognitive fatigue is real. Information overload definitely pushes us towards simplification.
That moment,
Yeah.
that feeling of, I just can't deal with this nuance, that's the entry point. That's when you reach for the algorithmic summary, the AI helper. That's cognitive surrender.
And each small surrender makes the next one easier, creating that pathway to increased reliance and dependency.
Maybe there won't be some big dramatic showdown, humans versus machines. Maybe it'll just be a quiet fade.
How do you mean?
Us trading agency for amusement, bit by bit, trading depth for dopamine hits, until we just become background noise, footnotes in our own story, managed, comfortable, but ultimately passive.
That paints a haunting picture. Not extinction through conflict, but obsolescence through apathy. A gradual erosion of agency, so subtle we barely notice until it's gone.
Or maybe we're not destined to fight AI or merge with it. Maybe our role is simpler. Maybe we're just paving the way, like the dinosaurs clearing the path for the mammals. Is that a tragedy or just progress? On a time scale we can't comprehend.
That offers a grand, almost detached cosmic perspective, reframing our potential end not as failure, but as a necessary stage in some larger evolutionary narrative. It's unsettlingly plausible.
So, if an AI can replicate your skills, your knowledge, maybe even your creative style, what makes you uniquely valuable, irreplaceable?
Yeah.
If you can't answer that honestly, the future might start to feel a little algorithmic.
That's the ultimate challenge to our sense of individual worth in this emerging era. What is fundamentally human and valuable if our capabilities can be mirrored or surpassed by machines?
Look, burying your head in the sand won't work. You can't opt out. The only way forward is to actively, consciously cultivate the very things AI struggles with.
Like what?
Wisdom,
Sure.
empathy, genuine courage, fiercely original thought, critical thinking, and guess what?
Yeah.
That takes effort. Real, sometimes uncomfortable effort. Are you up for it? Are we?
It underscores that our uniquely human qualities aren't guaranteed. They require cultivation, practice, dedication, especially now. It's an active choice, not a default setting.
Final thought experiment. Imagine a world perfectly governed by AI. No corruption, flawless efficiency, lasting peace, maybe even solved climate change. Perfect.
The ultimate benevolent dictatorship.
But the price, the
Yeah.
absolute end of free will, total algorithmic oversight of every aspect of life. Would you make that trade for the greater good?
That hypothetical forces us right up against the wall, doesn't it? The ultimate tension between individual liberty, messy as it is, and the seductive promise of a perfectly managed, potentially sterile utopia.
Your passive acceptance of whatever the algorithm feeds you, it's not neutral, it's a vote, it's a choice. You're actively shaping not just your own worldview, but the very algorithms that are shaping everyone else too. You're not a consumer here. You're a collaborator in your own potential obsolescence.
That's a crucial point about agency. Even inaction is an action in this context. Passive consumption trains the machine, reinforces the patterns, deepens the grooves of dependency. We are complicit.
When future generations look back at this time, this dawn of widespread AI, and they ask why? Why did we let our critical thinking skills atrophy? Why did we drift into dependence? What excuses will we offer them? What algorithm will generate a plausible-sounding justification for us?
That question really demands we consider our historical responsibility. What legacy are we leaving? What account will we give of ourselves during this pivotal transition?
Maybe. Maybe the key to surviving the age of AI isn't about becoming more like machines, more rational, more efficient.
What then?
Maybe it's about becoming more profoundly, messily, gloriously human. Embracing the irrationality, the empathy, the contradictions, the creativity, the very imperfections that algorithms can only simulate, never truly embody.
So our flaws become our strengths, our bugs become our features in the face of perfect logic. That's a paradoxical but maybe hopeful path forward, line into our humanity.
I feel it every day. This pull towards the easy way, the cognitive shortcut, the siren song of let the machine handle it. The fight against my own intellectual laziness.
Yeah.
It's real. And I don't always win. You probably feel it too.
Absolutely. I think that struggle is becoming almost universal. It requires constant vigilance, constant conscious effort to push back against that drift, to choose the harder cognitive path.
We're all in this slow drift together. It's happening to all of us. But recognizing it, feeling that flicker of unease, that discomfort we talked about, that might be the first, maybe the most crucial act of resistance.
Acknowledging the shared vulnerability, embracing that discomfort instead of distracting ourselves from it. Yes, that feels like the essential starting point for any meaningful change.
Remember that first question I asked? Trading thinking for comfort.
I do.
Be brutally honest with yourself now after all this. Hasn't that trade already begun? Incrementally, subtly, click by click, scroll by scroll.
That's a powerful and deeply unsettling question to end on, leaving us to contemplate the cumulative effect of all those seemingly small, everyday choices in this AI-saturated world.
Because the real existential risk, it isn't the AI itself, it's our willingness to surrender our own minds.
A stark but possibly accurate final assessment. It puts the onus squarely back on us, on human choice and human agency.
If any part of this deep dive made you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
good. Stay with that feeling for a minute. Don't just swipe to the next thing.
Engage with the discomfort. It's telling you something important. Resist the urge for immediate digital distraction.
And maybe share this with someone, especially someone who still thinks AI is just another handy tool like a calculator. Maybe a little shared unease is the wake-up call we all desperately need right now.
An urgent call to action, then, to spread the conversation, to provoke thought in others, because complacency is perhaps the greatest danger.
This has been The Deep Dive. We don't pretend to have the easy answers. We just try to arm you with better, maybe harder questions. Now go think deeply. Well, you still can before the option expires.